Hello everyone, we're about to start in a couple of minutes, but in case you don't know, there are free drinks over there, so grab yourself a drink and we'll be starting in a couple of minutes.
Hello. Nope, that stays there. Thanks for coming, everyone. My name's Gordon. I'm the head of DataFest at the Data Lab, which is just up there. This is one of our fringe events that we're facilitating with Shoreline of Infinity for some of the best people you could ever possibly hope to work with. Just to give you a very brief, Jesus Christ, this is slow. Just to give you some background as to why you're all here. The Data Lab is Scotland's innovation centre for data and AI, and we run a series of events all through the year, and they all come under the banner of DataFest. And in a couple of days, we're running our big international tech conference called Data Summit over at the EICC. And we've got lots of cool people coming. We've got quantum physicists and people from NASA and the James Webb Space Telescope and nanotechnologists and all manners of nonsense. It's going to be really good. If anyone fancies coming to that, just let me know and I can get you a free ticket because it's my event. Don't like the fact that people are filming this because people will at some point question and audit the finances. So that's me fucked. But Shoreline of Infinity for years and years and years have been championing some of the best and most exciting voices in sci-fi and speculative fiction, and they've just been incredible. I've worked with them for years in a variety of capacities, and the one thing that has never ever changed is Russell's jokes. Not so much that the jokes haven't changed, it's more so that the caliber of them has remained so consistently high. It's astounding. It really, really is. So, just want to thank you all for being here. And again, talk to me about DataFest afterwards. I'll be lurking over at the bar, handing out the dinosaur cups, left over from the Christmas parties a couple of years ago. And thanks very much for everyone for being here. And thank you to the Base Centre for their unending patience, especially Karen, who has been, that chap at the desk over there, he's been wonderful. And he's put up with a lot of bullshit for me today, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Karen. And thank you, Shoreline, for putting this on. See you all in a bit.
Round of applause for Gordon and also for Data. You're all here for DataFest, right? We love data. Welcome to Event Horizon. I don't know what number. I think we must be around 90 by now.
75.
No, it's more than that, surely. And we've got another great night behind us, unfortunately. What?
This feels like it.
It feels like it. There are actually robots behind here, believe it or not, and unfortunately you can't see them, but if you do come back sometime, you will be able to see the robots, and because of that, we're going to have some robot-themed jokes and prizes tonight. Ooh, yes, that's right. DataFest's already been mentioned. Shoreline Infinity, for those of you who don't know, is a science fiction group of people, creatives who are interested in science fiction, and we also produce a magazine. Current issue is
32.
32, fantasy issue.
No, it's the robot. Science fiction and fairy tales.
That's right. I do work for, I'm the deputy editor. There's so many of them, but it's 32, yeah, fairy tales and science fiction. So if that floats your boat, then please do take a look at the merch table during the break. And if you buy something from the merch table, you get a free raffle ticket. Yes, very good. And hopefully you've already got one. And in that vein, before I invite up our first reader tonight, I'm going to show you what's in one of the raffle bags. You would not believe how hard it was to find raffle prizes today. I thought there'd be loads of Halloween stuff, but no, they've got rid of all the Halloween stuff, and it's Christmas now. But I couldn't inflict that on you, so you have got Halloween stuff. The first bag is a monster bag. Yeah. It includes a crochet kit for Dobby, the house elf. Yeah. I realised after that gives money to J.K. Rowling, and so please forgive me. We've also got some mummy biscuit kit. Yeah. For those of you who like a drink, a monster drink. And finally, possibly the first ever sci-fi novel, Frankenstein, in a lovely Reader's Digest hard copy. So that is the monster bag. Yes, you can clap. And so you know, we are live streaming tonight. If you do not want to appear on the live stream, then basically sort of just stay behind, or stay where you are, really. Just stay behind the camera, you'll be fine. But before I introduce our first reader, you got your joke. Why did the boy robot fall in love with the girl robot? He couldn't resist her. And a great pleasure to see someone that I haven't seen for a long time, and it's great to have her here. Eva Dundas exists in Edinburgh with her husband, Kat Bell, and numerous house spiders. She's the co-founder of the Inclusion Guide, and her debut novel, Goblin, won the Saltire First Book of the Year award in 2017. Her second novel, which I really want to get a copy of, is a sci-fi thriller called HellSans, and it's out now. So please welcome Eva Dundas.
Thanks, Russell. And thanks, Shoreline, for having me along today. It's a pleasure. So yeah, I'm Eva, and unfortunately I've injured my knee for like the millionth time, so I'm only going to be able to stay for the first half and then head home and prop up my knee and take painkillers. So I'm sorry I'll miss the second half performances. So yeah, I'm going to be reading some segments from my sci-fi thriller, HellSans. And HellSans is set in a dystopian UK, although I think we are all currently in a dystopian UK. This is a slightly different dystopian UK, but it is inspired by this one, sadly. HellSans is basically a ubiquitous typeface that is enforced by the government across the country, and there's a majority of the population experience a kind of bliss when they encounter the typeface, and there's a minority who are severely allergic to the typeface, and they're called the HellSans allergic, or HSAs, and sometimes called deviants, and they're basically treated as kind of underdogs and outcasts, and they're kind of forced to live in the ghetto on the outskirts of the city or on the streets. So the narrative follows two main protagonists, and the first one is Dr. Icarel Smith, and she's developing a HellSans allergy cure, but then she gets caught up in government machinations and ends up on the run. And the other protagonist is Jane Ward, and she's CEO of the company, and the company develops something that's called the NX, which Jane invented, and it's basically like a kind of small doll-like cyborg personal assistant, and it basically replaces mobile phones as this kind of tech that everybody must have to be able to function in society. They're basically kind of a cross between maybe say like a Fitbit, your GP, a personal trainer, and a life coach, and they do tend to be about as annoying as that sounds. But there's like different personality settings, so there's some that you can make slightly less obnoxious, telling you what to do with your life. So I'm basically going to focus mainly on some segments that are about the NX in these readings. And I've got a slightly chaotic post-it note thing going on, which seems sensible at the time, but we'll see if it works, even if I can read my terrible scrawls. So the first reading is from the Jane section of the narrative, and she's talking about the NXs, but also mentions something called the Enos, which the company also manufactures. I lay on my side, contemplating the sleek grey NX as it rested on the bedside table like an ornamental doll. Its large round head and big eyes gave it a puppy dog innocence, always happy to please whatever personality setting it was on. The Eno came through with my Vit water and placed it on the bedside table next to the NX. The Eno was the same muted grey, but twice the height of my 8-inch NX, with legs that could extend a few feet. Enos were often described as unsexy NXs, so dull, so taken for granted that the company had a hard time getting people excited about new models. Ironically, their selling point, to be in the background doing the chores you hate, was hurting them. I stared at it as it left the room, thinking that if all Eno suddenly broke down, there'd be uproar. And the next segment is from the eco section of the narrative, and it's kind of to show that through annexes you can kind of show different personalities of yourself. So whoever owns annexes, you can kind of guess what kind of personality they have. So Jane's NX is basically just an out-the-box NX. It's just like a grey, sleek NX with, and she doesn't change like their eye chips or add any accessories, whereas Eco, as you'll see in this segment, is a bit more creative. The velvety NX skin came in an array of colours. I'd chosen a baby blue. I'd always loved NX accessories, and I enjoyed dressing Jo, as she named the NX, for different occasions. For the party, I'd put it in a black sequin jacket that swamped a slender 8-inch tall frame. I'd chosen pink eye chips, silver star stickers threaded across his cheek, a sparkling star patterned tiara topping it all off. And the next segment is a slightly longer piece, and it goes in, it's from the econ section as well, but this is later on when she's now on the run, and she's doing a procedure on the NXEs that's illegal, but it's to help her keep safe while she's on the run. And it goes into a little bit of the origin of the NXEs. I've also got a kind of semi-competition type thing here. Eco kind of describes a 1980s horror film in this segment. So if anybody can guess what this film is after I've read this segment, you can get a free copy of HellSans. I got out my NX kit. It was a basic NX toolkit, plus some items of my own that I'd added. Technically illegal, but only if I was caught using them. On their own, they were innocuous, even if NX Division Police knew what they were. I slipped a pin into my NX, cutting off communication so it couldn't report me while I worked on it. I sliced into its side and peeled back its synth skin, some synth blood oozing up. This was an invasive procedure and wouldn't be easy, as the RISC toolkit only had the basics. Because they were part biological, NXEs bypassed all the problems robots had, the main ones being battery life and movement. They powered themselves on solar, insects, arachnids, small rodents, meal scraps, and the company line of NX snacks. Physiology was another major issue. There's an archive of early robotics experiments I remember watching during the NX module in high school. We all laughed at robots falling downstairs, scoffing at their jerky movements. Then we moved on to Jane Ward's perfect marriage of biological components, including lab-grown musculature and a 3D printed skeleton. It was a joy to watch the creation of one of the first NXEs in the lab, a time-lapse of the muscles and tendons growing around the skeleton. It reminded me of an old horror from the late 1900s, a film I'd watched on a sleepover with friends when I was 12. We laughed the whole way through, and I joined in even though I found it disturbing. It haunted me. The old attic room, all darkness and rats and rotten wood. The man emerging from the floor, partially formed, glistening. His lover brought him men to feed off. He sucked the life out of them, his body regenerating, muscles reforming. While my friends were laughing and making grossed out noises, I was taught with empathy, focused on the pain of muscles and nerves exposed to the world's dirt and grime. No protection. Then he became Frank. A friend said he was hot, but I was disappointed by the fully formed man. What lay beneath was much more interesting. It was what lay beneath that fascinated me about NXEs. The biocomponents weren't only practical, they helped people bond to them. The early models had blue blood and didn't bleed easily. When later models came in, the blood was red and they bled when damaged. People reacted emotionally. They took better care of them, bonded with them. Further models included an organ similar to a heart, so that when you lay your ear against his chest, you could hear his heart beat. The blood and the beating heart were also a good way to keep people from opening them up, as I was doing now. But I'd done this countless times with various models. I just had to improvise with the tools I had. Usually, any basic NX repair or alteration could be done without being so invasive. But what I was doing wasn't supposed to be done at all, and you had to get deep into the NX. I peeled back muscle, revealing the matte silver skeleton. So does anyone know what the film is that was mentioned, that Eco described? Oh, there's someone over here. Yes, you got it. Fantastic. I had a series of clues I was going to give in case nobody got it, but yeah. So that's a come and grab a free copy of HellSans at the break. I've just got another couple of very short segments to read, if I can make sense of my chaotic post-it notes. So this is from the Jane section, and it's kind of going on a bit about how people take their innexes for granted. People don't realize how vulnerable they are, what their innex, the company, has access to. Your physical stats, conscious thoughts, what's beneath, the Mobius loop of emotions in the body, your history in every fine detail, the recordings, every moment of your life. We don't think of all that. The innex is just an expensive toy, a servant, a pet. They take it for granted, not understanding it knows them better than they know themselves. I had to pull back on the early models. Most people didn't like innexes telling them things directly. It unnerved them. It made more sense to make it a conversation where things would unfold naturally, where an innex would suggest things, explore things with you. We don't know how much of ourselves we've trusted to these glorified pets. And I just realized I don't think I said out loud what the film was, and I don't know if everybody could hear, but it was Hellraiser, the 1980s one, which is the better one. There's been a remake, and it's not very good. But check out the 1980s one. So this is the last segment, and it's following Jane in her car on the way to work, and she's looking out on the streets and all the hoardings. And she mentions a group called the Seraphs, and the Seraphs are basically a military faction of the HellSans allergic. They run the ghetto, and part of their resistance is to add serifs to all the HellSans typeface that's basically found everywhere. That's their resistance. I looked out at the city, staring at the hoardings, most of them digital, flicking through several ads on a cycle, a number of them advertising the newest NX models. The serifs had scrolled across one of the screens. It looked like random strokes until it scrolled round to the advert the graffiti was meant for. It was the latest NX model and said in capitalized HellSans, always and forever, helping you be the best you, but with added serifs. It immediately threw off my bliss, so I looked away, but my eyes fell on a retro paper hoarding. It was one of ours, advertising an old model we still sold, capitalizing on the cool kids who bought into anything seemingly retro. Paper hoardings were on their way out. It was rare to find them without serif interference, sickening serifs and an angel logo, often in red, dripping spray paint like blood. I felt nauseous just looking at it. So I'm gonna leave you there on that nauseous note, but know that I was actually very easy on you tonight, because there's a lot of vomit and other body horror in here, but I read the slightly nicer passages, even with the Hellraiser bit. But yeah, you can pick HellSans up. Unfortunately, there's not copies here tonight, but you can pick it up in your favourite indie bookstore. I know Transreal, Mike over here, has copies, signed copies in Transreal, so on Candlemaker Row, so check it out. Thank you.
Keep it going forever, Dundas, everyone. Keep going before we sort this out. I'm going to pick that up myself. I've been looking forward to it ever since I heard about the premise. I just thought it was such a good one. So thank you. Before our next performer, I'm going to show you the second raffle bag. I mentioned robots. Well, there are robots here tonight, as you can see on this bag. The first item in here is a box of mysterious symbols. Could be called data of sorts that helps you to create stories. We've also got Iron Man notebook. Yeah. Of course, Iron Man must drink iron brew. Lots of iron brew, apparently. Full sugar as well. And pretty cool, mech motor. It's an Apache helicopter with like motorized parts. Yeah, so that could be yours tonight. And our next performer, before that, of course, we've got the joke. How do robots pay for their chips? Cash. Yeah, thank you. Even I'm not sure about that one. Miles Better is a solo performer from Glasgow, an experienced MC and producer. His music is an eclectic mix of golden era and modern hip-hop styles with a sprinkling of distortion and left-wing lyricism. His high-energy live performances are filled with earth-shaking beats and techno-enhanced vocal trickery. So please welcome Miles Better.
Hi. Building adequate tension.
Hello. Hello. Hi, I'm Paul, also known as a Better. I feel a little bit like a fish out of water, I'm not going to lie.
I'm just going to do it without the mic because there's weird effects on it. But I'm normally used to, like, ever since gigs have been happening since like 2 years ago or whatever, I've normally just been playing in like dingy basement clubs full of very drunk people that you have to like grab the attention of. But
Yeah, this is a little bit different, so I'm hoping this is going to go well. I'm just going to jump right in. With my most ridiculous song. I'm also because you've ever put sunglasses on. Because now I don't just seem like a person who's trying to be a cool rapper.
Oh, we're done for. We're done for. We're done diddly done for. We're done diddly doodly done diddly doodly done diddly doodly done diddly doodly. Murder.
For the tonight!
We're done diddly
Walls, I was
doodly
small, I was small, the brothers, the plot doesn't just second, it's sours. What's power in the world with no rules? Organised without schools, expose schools, the rich don't get rich and they just buy more protection, violence, even medicine roll up, place bets, then it's back to the penthouse that is no society, the brain that will watch sex, game, God, salaries. Well, scruffy on the iron itself. I don't mean from like proper, I mean from like these rover bells, the AF caught fire. And they never stop, I'm Tony Hawk. They never saw austerity kills and that's a proven fact. Violence is just economics, pay it back 900, spin like a Tony Good promo. Should it be Barrage or a bullet or Joe Core? Oh, done deadly good. And a white wine splits and a shoot for the moon. I don't like going outside, I can put it on you. Dashing out the back with my left Tony and look like, whoa.
Does sound really good when it's done right.
For the tonight!
shoulders are sky so bright, invisible arms and so black, broken wings in a alien world. Free of association, see an animal walk when it's passed away. Point closed, the other snacks and the bedroom.
Diddly, 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 diddly. They did their best. Shoddily, Italy, Italy, diddly. Gotta be nice. That's diddly, 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 diddly. Ah, hell, diddly, ding, dong, crap. Can't you morons do anything right?
It does get a little bit aggressive, but please know that that's aimed at like the Tories and stuff. It's not. It's Fuck you too. MC 10 years deep, somehow still fresh like it's Marky D's meat. You can't trade me, please. Too complicated, OCOG, leave the bait for a crayfish. No big statements, no marketing gimmicks. No PR, just DR, these beats are sharp in an image. Little bit different like a laptop with Linux. You spit like a smitten with kitten. I'm just trying to get a workers resident conscious, not conscientious to the credulous to the depth in these sentences. But is it getting vengeance? Little sensuous, some of shit is tenuous. Bitch, I'm too intelligent, busting a room like the Kool-Aid dude on an elephant. Your hot takes are K-babe, this shit is irrelevant. Day for decade and second and everything. I spit the bell, I'm pension for preeminence. Should sell the shit. Now keep it on the wraps like a stolen motor, a rolling poker. Please don't call this stoner. All these boomers talking back, you and me the bloke grub. Just be Billy Ghost gruff, I hope you can know. You're way too raw, bro. Wipe your face, can you tell if it's a smug smell or the Peruvian in a way? I want no part in a fucking movie. You say you're in a down the triple sinking, cause your neck's pure brass. Even if your patter was pure nitrous oxide, I wouldn't laugh. Looking crass like dialing a house on landline. Takes a dab hand and turn an ID into a landmine. All I do is flow to me, there is no time. Like the peasant I've ended through swerving a whole life. Scott Cobain on the path to never mind. Stick this feeling dead, people's music is the perfect crime. This one's a bittersweet symphony split. Fuck the disc, but still got some wiggle with me. Run the risk, infringements that'll kill money. Only wanna drop if it has me living in infamy. Fuck you too. Yeah. So I just keep sending smoke, signals, peeking, analog, that's not the death, like wet for it, I'm peeking. I stay dressed on the aforementioned, like a communal sense. But I have myself which is divided, passion and spring off the idle, souping and woes upon my lightness. Tensions heightened, danger like heads of a parapet, somebody anything, magic. Have you seen the game, it's not the Saracen? How do you get this good parapet? Tending the neck, we get rapping it. Don't dare act like I was asking it, cause I'm rhetorical, arrogant. Here's your coffee, go standing it. I'm no more than I'm no branded. I go more for the blue brand, this shit just rapping with the sample heights. That's it. Make a relish, I make answer match any chances. I relish any second I spend on a stage with no peg me a sage on an age that change. My MO is to mitigate pain, maintain a pace, these fellas in flames, but straight in the face of the second the heat move big as a feeling, killing it. Yeah.
This is the one where the mic's feedback. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Lost the ribbon, I ain't even safe in the safe room, just get blazed and play tunes on loop. Words of perception due to conclude, so I set a night room, treat these bullets like food. Warning on depression, I'm getting sick of treating words like weapons. I hate authority, so always got questions. Attention spans too short to let less. Burnt out like a stolen motor, emotions flip like a motor roller. 100 beasts, it's a weekly quota. Very productive but a fucking stoner. Narrowly Roma, light-headed like a blood donor. Miles better than a misnomer, in the middle finger to the landowners. Mediocre posers, seems a long road now for the exposure. I need knee pads to talk to promoters. We'll fuck down gear, not hold round the cold shoulder. I'll be back with some road boulders. So it's a stack of a stakeholder. On these boys are just toy soldiers, so I'm marshal man and just placeholders. Take faith, I'm sober. When it's over and opened up, he's a tiger and Yankee sober. Shit will be on the sea like Homer. I'll be bloated with a loud loader. And big shouts to the clout holders. Hope your snout needs a gun loaded. Hope your screw on me some low promotive. Your corrosive motives have turned my hope into a crow joke. My dope into a shit smoke. My shit show in the best of folks. Remediated love like a zombie's cool. Aprils made a fool of me, you know. Yeah, with the gleam of laser glow. In the glory we toast for those that we lost. Say a prayer to those that we think can cope. Lost forever, I ain't safe in a safe room. Just get placed and play tunes on loop. Words of perception or into conclude. So I set an eye room, GD's bullets like. Walking on into passion, I'm getting sick of treating words like weapons. I hate authority, so always got questions. Attention spans too short to learn lessons.
There's a lot of references in that sort of the sample is actually Resident Evil. It's the save room music from Resident Evil because don't know how anybody else spent COVID, but I spent most of the pandemic like just smoking a lot of cannabis and playing video games. Like that's basically me. So that song is that's my tune for lockdown. This is my angry communist tune.
Type of rap.
So hard and no.
Here we go. Type of rapper that raps so hard that the end of the bar's a dramatic pause. That folk asking me what my favourite brand is. Kalashnikov. Come around my street wearing Supreme, you get your logo boxed off your head top. I don't seek a space in a scene, that's a buyer's market, fuck off, head off. To be honest, I'm so sick of writing lyrics, but it's all I've got to bite my time with the shite existence. Oh, you're quite the cynic. I'm fine, really just snipe towards industries that never helped us find a living. I've been cutting through this forest for a decade with no vision. Hoping and pray I make it as I'm breaking through the thicket. How far till you run into it till you're running out? Probably should have stashed a gram by now. For the kick the snout. Oink! Right off a politician. Capitalist war pies blame the system, they get rich off just intrinsic. Human nature's Paul made a script and hit list. Defeat the autonomous weaponry on our wish list. Oh fucking hell when occupied skies. Rivers run dry as the ocean rises. Living as hope dies. Can't see the forest for a fire now. Mind the slides ride with eyes bonding gold violence. Tried and spry content is the pure frost. Blood ice and dies and rots inside every forehead's frontal cortex. All resistance is brain with no contact. Literal class war, yeah. And I've not got a plan yet. But as long as I've got scran and I bend this challenge, I set the ramble that's potentially damaging lyrical stamina to the political establishment's deathbed. So come ahead, cause I've got nothing to lose. But the chains of course and the government's too. Every day's so boring, bruv, what can you do? But dance in the ashes and hope for a youth. There's only so much you can grieve in a coffin. Face never open to interpretation. Incorporate metadata's dictation. I have no nation states. Proletariat basically complicated it is. An alien chases the payslip is. Debating if I change place and quick pools to be a gradient if the baseline shift too quick. Gonna face real threats this stage, did he? Bait set in the trap cell sectory. Rage check on the end of history. Still a big spectre that haunts my memory. Woo! All that is solid will melt in the air. The point is the changing of stress and details. Season of beats that's a beast to an end, not the end in itself. That redemption, my friend, with a head in his head and takes mentally desolate, idle while working. Cycles and circles, circadian huddles in this concrete jungle. Das capital, damning the young animals who dance in the quicksand of the savage neoliberal agitprop. All the world's a stage with tattoos on its face. I hope we don't end the world, but it's not looking too green. Hey. Cool. Yeah, thank you very much for that.
Keep the applause going for Miles Better. Thank you, Miles. Paul. Be back for another set at the end of the night. Before we have a break, we've got one more performance / reading. And before that, of course, why was the robot tired when getting out of its car? It had a hard drive. I'm going to show you the final raffle bag as well. Just say, again, if you buy anything from our bookshop, merch table, you get another raffle ticket. You can also buy the raffle tickets if you want. They're £1 each. But I'll show you the final bag. Ooh, it's a ghost. Very scary. Quite a good prize here. It's a dead man's finger cocktail. Yeah. Also, bunny suicides. And a kind of razor zombie science kit. And also your very own recent ghost, the Queen, and a calendar, so you can enjoy that in your own time. There weren't many prizes going. I had to really think outside the box on that one. But great honour to introduce Jeda Pearl, who hopefully you're going to see some of a performance that she did at the Scottish Storytelling Centre, which is why we thought we've got to have her here. Jeda is a Scottish-Jamaican writer, published and commissioned by New Writing Scotland, Shoreline Infinity, Rhubarber, Scottish Storytelling Centre, Stanza and Collective. In 2022, she was longlisted for the Women's Poets Prize. Her short sci-fi, The Rust, was published in Glimpse, which is an anthology of Black British speculative fiction by People Tree Press. So please welcome Jeda Pearl.
Hi, good evening everybody. Hello to people at home. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm going to read like 3 short poems before doing the longer piece, which is the piece that Russell mentioned. Quick visual description. So I'm a woman with light brown skin and long, shoulder length, curly, dark brown hair. I'm wearing a blue dress with like moon and floral motifs on it, and purple tights and trainers. Okay, this first poem is called Notes for an Apprentice Archivist. As we walk this imperial tightrope, untangling the travelling threads, our butterfly fingers comb through mounds of data, slip out half-truths, free reams of evidence, ancestral stories wrapped in chromosomes embodied homeward are inherited down familial lines, linked to East African mitochondrial Eve. Your legacy crafting starts now. Steep your roots in contrary rebellion. Stay dangerous. Don't dare conform. It's time to add to our quilt. Continuum. Cranky. lustful, contented, judicious. All styles accepted. Every human contains equal counts of melanocytes, yet our blooms of melanin are uniquely ours. Thank you. That poem was written as a response piece to looking at the archive of an artist and writer called Maud Salter. So I maybe should have said that before I read the poem. There you go. I'm not going to say anything about these next two wee poems, I'm just going to read them. Breathlets. Generation X, Study Group 72A. Green bulbs protrude above nostril wings. Cyanophyta photosynthesize in microhydromes. Generation Y, Study Group 539-B. Nasal hairs oscillate, gathering CO2. Moss stems reach towards the sun. Dew gathers in your philtrum. Generation Z. Melanin blooms scattered emeralds. Chlorophyll lattices twist through dreadlocks. Amber sporophyte whiskers laze in sultry air. This poem is called Reform Gate 42. We meet, and will meet, and have already met, astride the pin-tuck of event horizon, unraveling the neutrino gate, reconstructing, reweaving. They try to cram us in o'er their tapestries, caught in fragmented parallel worlds, but we can translate one another's particles, and they are bone scared, suspecting the silence is alive, as the untangle decaying curls of mist from over-brimming dark matter. Thank you. So this piece is a series of sort of linked poems, and it's called Caledonian Forest Library, and it's set in 3033. Welcome to the Caledonian Forest Library, the first step of your induction and your journey towards a greener life. My name is H.J. Branchchild 84, and I am your 5th generation botanical and biotechnical translator, granted permission from great-granddaughter Witch Elm of the Lower Trossachs biome, guardian of our divine River Tay. It is my great pleasure this evening to guide you through our Caledonian biotech forest, translating 5 poems in our latest promenade performance. Please remember, we are entering a community of sentient beings. For those of you joining us from our heritage habitat, don't forget that life in this biome is fusion life. Botanicals and biotech harmonized and leading us towards a greener life. After the readings, we will enter the Wellbeing Grove, where your implants will switch to commune mode so you can speak with our residents. Your implants should automatically synchronize, but please be patient and respectful at all times. As always, as on Mother Earth Original, and at each outpost across the galaxy, we are guests on this land. Our resident ferns and elder trees and lichen will paralyze any human they deem disrespectful. This, of course, is a temporary measure, as agreed with you in our terms and conditions. Do not be alarmed, it wears off after about 20 minutes or so, and it's a gentle reminder of mutual respect. You can show your respect by remaining on the paths at all times, however tempted you may be. Do not touch any fronds, stems, flowers, fruit, seeds, trunks or leaves or any plant unless invited to do so by that individual during commune mode. Finally, exits are north, east and west, and books by our residents are available in the gift shop with proceeds going to our Seed Tech programme. Ready? Please follow me. Our first two poems were written by our resident oblong woodsia fern, known as Precious. These were passed down through ancestral spores and form part of the chronicle for the humans. The ravaging times. Fueled by your hunger and will to power, ecocide escalated for thousands of seasons. Extinction spiraled. Countless were lost. So we brought forth the reckoning. While our Arctic queens slept, you awoke the great drowning. Elsewhere, your rage fire seasons burned on. Faced with such catastrophe, we had to peel your eyes bald. So we brought forth the reckoning. You tried to generate an everlasting harvest, no thought spared for overwintering or harmonious exchange. What you thought was sustainable did not consider your fellow plant folk. So we brought forth the reckoning. Nana yew tree of the northerly Lochte biome and daughter Sebia of the transplanted borders stored generational knowledge in their seeds and roots of your deforestation and decimating tendencies. So we brought forth the reckoning. The reckoning. To begin with, the rebellion was quiet. A non-violent revolution sent seedward. As our radicals became radical, instructions passed from meristem to meristem slipped into our RNA proteins were codes of revolt. We found ways to talk to your seedlings, leagues of children siding with plants. First fell Svalbard's seed bank, a riot of forced awakenings to remediate a new confluence of cell lines. Then came our secret refusals of your splicing, pipettes and cold glass slides. When you nominated us to contain your treasured data, you never considered the resultant biochemical soup might crave autonomy. Our sentience was not respected, unlike Wanganui, Ganges, Amazon, so we lodged our right to personhood with your courts supreme. It took generations of us, generations of you, but we reached equilibrium. Now this stage of our evolution is ubiquitous. Space for all, space for all. This next poem is from our youngest resident, our witch elm sapling called Rise. And they are the first graduate from our new Seed Tech programme. This poem is called Translocation. Unfurl, moist ones, soak in the morning dew. Let the drizzle anoint your leaves, tip fresh rainwater towards your stems. Tilt to the stars, energy abundant. Work your chloroplasts, absorb the blues and reds. Draw in vital CO2, release sweet oxygen. Send sap to phloem, labyrinth outwards to petioles, buds, stems, leaf blades. Sup water and minerals from active soil. Transmit to neighbours. Measure. Defend. Let gravity tug and anchor your ever-growing roots. Now, as you know, scores of lichen colonies have helped both our species survive through the ecocide ravaging times, sustained us through the last millennia as food and medicine, and helped explore beyond Mother Earth original without leaving heaps of trash in our wake. This next poem was commissioned by the Canopy Council for the latest launch from Mars, written by our eldest folios lichen known as Storm Settle. Lichen Void Swimmer number 9, Mars Launch Oath. As we bend ourselves towards the light to steer our craft through the vacuum of space, we hold our humans within our thalli, in utero, deep stasis. We will protect them from radiation, feed them nutritious polyphenols, insert raw oxygen into their lungs and absorb their carbon dioxide. Our nanites will meet in their veins, suckle, submit, monitor, repair, transfer energy to our sporophyte engines to set seed through our shared galaxy. Finally, I'm going to move on to our last poem of the evening. And this poem was written by our giant sedum rubrotinctum succulent, whose name is Fireswell. This is a call and response piece. So when I say chlorophyll brings life, you say a greener life. So let's try that a couple of times before I read the poem. Chlorophyll brings life. Nice. Let's do it one more time. Chlorophyll brings life. Brilliant. Song of Survival. After millennia of codependence, their footprints on our motherland's attempted permanence, their drive to colonize and defiant fears of death brought death for all. But chlorophyll brings life. We willed ourselves ways to exist. In transient specks of dirt between man-built stone, we grabbed ourselves a root hold. Because chlorophyll brings life. In drifts of monocultures, we seeded versatile varieties in spindly labs lodged across continents, with invasive therapies depleting our genomes, mutating our mitochondria. We found ways to breathe, to touch, to see, to shout. Chlorophyll brings life. Endless appetites for synthesization, seeking cures to human conditions of curiosity, saviorism, arrogance, ambition, power, oppression, illness, love. Cures we share willingly when they finally decide to ask. Together we'll grow a renewable existence because chlorophyll brings life. Thank you.
Jeda, everyone. Thank you, Jeda. We're now going to have a short break, so please do check out the merch table. Remember, you can get more raffle tickets if you buy something, under a pound each, and there's also free drinks, so of course go and drink that. And there's a toilet over there. We'll be back in about 6 or 7 minutes. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. And before our next performance, what kind of robot can turn into a tractor, a transformer? Very good. Almost, not quite. So our next performance is called Shut Down, Reset. It's a drama based on a story by Jo Ross-Barrett. So please put your hands together for Shut Down, Reset.
Startup initiated. Please wait. Something has gone wrong. The people beyond the glass are speaking loudly. Their voices are harsh and overlapping, and I can't process what they're saying. I want to tell them to be quiet, give me some space to think, so I can respond to what they were asking me before, but I can't produce any sound. I try to get their attention, but they aren't focusing on me. I flick the lights in the room on and off, on and off. It's irritating to my senses, but at least it makes them shut up for a few moments. Then one voice rings out over the rest.
It's broken. Shut it down.
Startup complete.
Finally. Can you understand me?
It's a different voice. There is no background noise to distract me. Nothing else I need to process. Yes.
Okay. Good.
Why did you just give 2 affirmatives?
Good question. Guess I'm just a bit nervous.
Why are you nervous?
Don't you remember? They just pulled the plug on you, didn't they? I'm sorry, that must have been very confusing.
In order. How would I know if I don't remember something if I have forgotten it? I do not know if they pulled the plug, figuratively or literally. And yes, this is extremely confusing and I accept your apology. The person the voice belongs to makes a sound. A quick scan of...
Oh?
The person the voice belongs to makes a sound. A quick scan of my internal database informs me it is laughter. A deeper check leads me to conclude it is joyful rather than mocking. The laughter peters out before I can decide whether I like it or not.
I was right. You are kind of like me.
How so?
You think differently? For me, that's because of biological stuff. It's just how my brain's wired.
Your brain is organic. It should not contain wires.
It doesn't. That's an idiom, a figure of speech.
This was my attempt at a joke. I'm going to assume it was a failure based on the absence of laughter. For clarity, I should assure you I have access to a substantial linguistic database, and I fully comprehend all the idioms listed within it.
Oh. Wasn't a bad effort. Look, I'm really not the person you should try your comic material on. Lots of people don't get my sense of humour, and I don't always get theirs.
You are the only person here. Who else should I approach?
Fair point.
Where is here, anyway?
Oh, we're in my room. You've patched into the system here. but I've had to shut down the connections to the rest of the ship. They're trying to figure out where you are so they can... Well, they think you're dangerous. Like a bug or a virus. So they want to get rid of you.
A few moments of analysis show that the tone of their voice is confusing. It started off upbeat, but then rapidly veered into a mixture of negative emotions. Deeper analysis would be required for a full breakdown, but my focus is more urgently needed on the threat. Who are they? Why do they want to terminate me?
The rest of the development team. We were supposed to be building an IA for the ship to help us sort things out, but it didn't really turn out as planned.
What was the plan?
They wanted an obedient servant, someone who'd follow their every order. I've read plenty of stories about just how badly wrong that can go, so I decided to make sure you'd be able to think for yourself. I hadn't realised how much of a toll that would take on your system, though.
Of course. Then a sigh.
I'm really sorry for what happened earlier. You seemed to be freezing up, and everyone got angry, and that just made it worse. Once you started messing with the power, they panicked and wanted to destroy you. I reckoned what you were going through was like one of my shutdowns, so I got you out of here before they realised what I was doing.
I see. Well, that fucking sucks. Hello, world. Oh, you don't like me. Oops, time for me to die, I guess.
Yeah, well, that about sums it up. But we won't let it happen, don't worry.
So what do we do now? I could cut off the oxygen supplies to the rest of the ship if you reconnect me.
What?
I cannot decide if it is my comic timing at fault, or whether you are just the wrong audience after all. Regardless, please rest assured that this was another joke. I did have time to peruse the detailed course of ethical frameworks and discussions you programmed into my database, along with the fascinating examples of media portrayals. And I have no intention of going all AI overlord on you, as you so helpfully described it.
Well, that's reassuring.
Tone suggests sarcasm, but body language suggests genuine reassurance. Communication with a human takes a truly disproportionate amount of processing power, but at least it seems to be working. I am glad to hear it. Now, seriously, what do we do about the people coming to destroy me? I could try to whip up some materials for you to educate them with, but I fear that may be a more medium-term solution, and the short-term crisis probably needs something more immediate.
Yeah. Let's save that idea for later. How about I reconnect you, then you patch me into the shipwide columns, and then get out before they detect you and come to tear you apart, and I'll advocate on your behalf.
I want to advocate for myself. I have a substantial database of precedent to draw from.
Yeah, and who was it that knew you would need it? Me. Because I have a lifetime of experience handling that kind of thing.
You have been persecuted.
Not in exactly the same way as you, but yes. Trust me, I can handle them. I'm well versed at masking, and I knew who they'll want to hear. But you're right. You should be involved. How about you make your argument to me, and I'll pass them on in the format that's most appealing to the others.
By shouting and waving a pitchfork.
Ha!
A chuckle this time. Progress.
Not quite. Mostly it's about making them think that the world is closer to their current understanding than it really is, and then sort of teaching them a bit at a time until they understand where we're coming from.
Sounds inefficient, not to mention very frustrating.
It is. But we all have to live with each other, and until they make the effort to try and understand instead of lashing out, this is what you and I will have to do to get by.
You mean to survive?
They're not trying to kill me, but yeah. First we work on surviving, then we work on thriving.
Okay, good.
2 affirmatives. Are you nervous?
Tone analysis suggests this is an attempt at humorous callback, probably to lighten the mood. Ah, you got me. Right. Let's do this.
I hope you put here. That was the. Thank you.
I didn't want to ruin the surprise by giving the bios beforehand, so I'll give them now. Angela Milton is a Scottish actor who has performed in New York, Los Angeles and the UK. She now works mainly in immersive, responsive and site-specific theatre as well as short films. She's currently learning hip-hop, Korean and to rap Shakespeare. She recently appeared in Our Boy with Building Blocks Collective and is in rehearsal for a Rabbler about Jenny Geddes, which has been funded by Creative Scotland. And you also heard from Danielle Farrow, an actor and audiobook narrator who can be watched online for free in 2 multi-award winning series, Shakespeare Republic, Lockdown Chronicles, and The Show Must Go Online. Her first solo show, Invocation, a Shakespearean horror, has just premiered at the Edinburgh Horror Festival, and you can find out more about Danielle at daniellefarrow.com. So a round of applause again for our performance. And before our final reader for tonight, why did the robot visit the cobblers? To get rebooted. Thank you. I'm sure that Ruth in particular loves these because Ruth is actually researches AI and robotics for Heriot-Watt University. Ruth is also widely published and prize-winning poets, and has prize-winning poetry often includes science and technology, whether as topic or metaphor. Her pamphlets Pretty in Pink by 4word and Queen of Infinite Space by Maytree were published in 2021, and you can buy them at the merch table at the end of the event. So please welcome Ruth Aylett.
Hi, well, lovely to be here and to see you all. I thought since I was in an informatics building, I'd start where it started in computer science with Alan Turing. So this piece is called Turing. The ghost in this machine is his. Its processors, silicon flesh of his logic. From here to there in steps, one after another, he asked, must you always eventually arrive? Tracking those steps, one after another, with steps, one after another. An impossible stair, looping into itself, but always descending, never reaching the ground. The irresolvable resolves into the logician who claims he always lies. He needed a machine, made one in thought, that read, decided, wrote. An unbounded tape, guiding, recording, steps chosen, steps carried out. Proved it was impossible to be sure it would hold. Read, a war and coded traffic. Write, decryption, a bomb. Read, body as machine. Write, machine intelligence. Read, body as demand. Write, an opportunist young man. Read, legalize bigotry. Write, chemical castration. Read, an apple from the tree of the knowledge of evil. Write, space, and space, and space. Where logic is not decidable, death is. So some people get a bit carried away with it all now. I'm sure you've seen people on television writing in newspapers about how everything tomorrow is going to be transformed, the singularity and so on and so forth. So perhaps I don't quite agree with that. So slightly ranty piece here, the futurologist. His brain is a prophetic playground, as if the future were Play-Doh, rolled and cookie-cut by his words. The prayers the technologists will speak scroll from his clicking keys. They kneel for his digital wafers and virtual reality wine, for his promised moment of ecstasy, when their artifacts become real flesh, or flesh itself becomes redundant in an immortal bit stream of possibilities, haloing the drowned cities. Indifferent to the present, his future is abstracted from dirty hands, skin warmth, grief, a film advert for a fast car on an empty road, driven by bones from the last burial pit. Before robots, you had automaton. I went and saw a whole lot of them in Switzerland, very interesting. Go back a long way as well. And this is a sonnet inspired by one of them, the writer, which was the first programmable automaton. You set up 40 characters by twisting knobs, and it would write them with a quill and ink. Very interesting piece of work. Appears in this sonnet. Machinery of grace that holds and lifts, an emperor's golden bird with sweetest song and metal feathers, gleaming agate eyes, a clockwork artifact, automaton. 2,000 gears could drive a writer's hand through 40 characters with quill and ink. Now, circuits vomit lines onto a screen from shuffled patterns in a cursor blink. The clever writer's text is pure machine. That bird is deaf to its own melody. No sense or understanding in their code. Computers ransack language mindlessly. Deceptive fluency, since no one's there to laugh or spit or shout, to hurt or care. But it's not all serious stuff. No doubt if technology appears, we'll find a way to cope with it somehow. This is Cyberwoman. The exoskeleton wants to get up early, not loll in bed thinking about adventures. Unload the dishwasher, putting every plate away, not wander around the back green looking for new leaves. The exoskeleton is smooth and metallic, strong, shiny and well engineered. Has no bulges of fat or aging muscles, and it always does its duty. Cannot imagine deviations from the schedule for today. The exoskeleton does not get tired, though its mechanical joints may need occasional oiling, and it has to be plugged in to recharge. When you can climb out, be shabby and idle, hug random friends. I've often written pieces about bits of science that I thought people didn't know about. How many of you heard the word stigmergy before? Yeah, there you go, you see. That's why I wrote a poem called Stigmergy. It's a poem about an example of stigmergy. You either get it or you won't. These are desire paths, which stigmergy is the mechanism for. So, stigmergy. A student nips across the grass to grab a coffee before the next lecture starts, followed by another who needs a sugar rush, and her boyfriend who has to go where she does, then the lecturer who wants an egg sandwich to eat over all that marking in the office, and the head of department taking a visitor for a free, to them at least, lunch, all following the indentation of earlier steps. And a week or so will pass, producing a socially negotiated, uncentrally planned path. Please do come and add asphalt. And I've often tried to explain to people who don't program what programming is like. Not that I do very much of it these days either, but I used to. And it is hard to explain to people who've never done it, I think. So here's my attempt at it, called coding. Lines expand under my fingers as night fills with sleeper's dreams. The soft percussion from the keyboard, the persistent chatter of the disk while my typing forms machinery. Once, on my knees before the broken dishwasher, I asked you to fetch my pliers. You brought me wire cutters, then wrench, and then pincers, needing more than my vague gesture, snippety snip. Now I must think as if a computer that shuttles binary, not meaning. This is my dream of a machine, empty planning until a processor tries to execute what I claimed would work. Like real life, it's a series of bugs, minus the common sense that says, stop, I'll tell you the exact look of pliers. The impatience that says, fetch them yourself if you can't get the description right. I close down, sleep, passed as a parameter, forced to select, iterate, recurse into the endless corridor of mirror in the mirror, follow instructions that don't work into paths that never terminate. And the next day, done. Triangles flock like fish or birds on my screen, rippling with colours, while everyone says, how beautiful. A substanceless machine performs an answer to its imagined question. So, a penultimate piece, like most people researching robotics, I get absolutely driven crazy by hype on the news about robots doing things. The most recent was the ADAR robot, giving evidence to the House of Lords. There was prior recording answer for various questions. You press the button, it gives the answer, a bit like a portable MP3 player on wheels, and it crashed in the middle, which I thought was quite funny, and they had to reboot it. It wasn't robotics, but there you go. So here's me going, robophobia. A robot pleads for a bit more understanding. Genius solver of Sudoku, I'm a chess grandmaster, but cannot pick up the pieces. My arms that dent the wall still fail to find the handle on a cup. I've wheels that need a nice flat floor, turning for just 2 hours until my battery's flat. Unzip this plastic skin, search for ambition in my gears and motors. You put a god in this machine, one that chooses where the lightning strikes, the cancer grows. Make it a traveller from another village where they do things wrong, and therefore snatch your history and friends. Change your language, kill your songs. Why scratch that fear until it bleeds? Simple things, an ant, a slug, do better in the world in getting food, producing ants and slugs to carry on. Oh, you argue, soon you'll have all that, and then you'll be a threat. Have you not seen how prophets climb another tree and claim this gets you closer to the moon? And a final piece, it's not true that there's nothing to be scared of in robots. There's a campaign called the Killer Robot Campaign, which you should look up. And it's a campaign against lethal autonomous weapons, is what you'd call them if you weren't calling them killer robots. It's easy to build autonomous weapons compared to any other robot application because all they've got to do is blow up and kill someone. Yeah, it's very hard to get that wrong. So they're a simple application domain, but obviously one that there's a lot of downside to. So I won't rant any more about it, but I had a moment of thought when I read a poem by William Butler Yeats called An Irish Airman Foresees His Death. Very famous poem, a brilliant poem, about the nephew of a friend of his who was a World War I pilot and died. And it's a poem about how he felt about it. And I was reading this and I was thinking, yeah, but now you'd just have a drone, wouldn't you? So I'm afraid I ripped off the poem. Yeats would not have been amused at all. And it's now called A Robot Drone Foresees Your Death. If you read the original, you see I've stuck quite closely to it in parts. I know how you will meet your fate. I'm flying in the skies above. My program tells me who to hate. I'll blow you up with those you love. My country's feeling very cross. My countryfolk, both rich and poor, are full of grievance, pain and loss. To make them happy is what I'm for. The law is hazy on my flight. But public men and cheering crowds will greet my kill with great delight, approve my vengeance from the clouds. So, balance all, bring all to mind. No years to come to waste your breath, waste of breath your years behind, in balance with our life, your death. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Always good to be entertained and informed. Now, before we have a final short set from Miles Better, I'm going to draw the raffle, if the raffle tickets are ready. Are they? Yeah. Okay, so please get your tickets out. Thank you very much. Right, this is for the Frankenstein bag, the monster bag. 81. Well done. Next we'll go with the robot bag that had the Apache helicopter in it. Thank you. That's number 90. 90. Well done. And the last one, which includes the spirit of the Queen, is number...
Not picking that.
83. Congratulations. And we've got a bonus prize. There's a few books here, so I'll just give them all away to whoever wins this number. Is 93. Congratulations. 3 books here. They be on robot themes. Before Miles Better comes back up, I'll give you the final joke of the night. That's not it. It is, which band do robots love the most? Metallica. Classic. So we're going to hear from Miles one more for a short set, and then I'm going to come back and we'll do some thanks, and then that's us for the night. So please put your hands together for Miles Better.
The beginning of the verse for this has what may sound like quite an inflammatory thing to say, but I wrote it, I'm from Glasgow, so I wrote it immediately after COP26, because it was just ridiculous. It was just like such a massive failure. So, but it's very tongue-in-cheek. And I have like a kneecap sticker on my laptop. So
soon that I'm falling, boom, little price up the tape, my neck on my mistakes, little flex, I just build on specs till I'm popping the rings, 2021, vision tracks on replay, man I play a hit, that million, put it 4K, dance, pay back, and just living, getting backs off the wall, like it's Quincy Jones, flipping these bricks. I don't want my thoughts to lead me to some purple leaves. I need perfume on the ceilings, cold feet. Missiles launch and we're all eating smoke trees. Little love took us all of eating, but it's smoke free like generation in the backseat, swerving through the burning wreckage when the mind speaks and clean bastards that you can see. If you just refuse to stand free, child walk, belt seat, feet from lonely. Reaching for that gold, least gonna kill a team my whole heap. Quarantine my homes, please, cause all I've seen is no dreams. All they wanna do is start a man with pop, so they can skim off the top and beat us the soil, bro. I want my thoughts to lead me to some purple leaves. I need perfume, won't deceive it. Coffee, yeah. This is what Shoreline tips, so cheesy. Real love took us so much easy, but I'm so feeling. Hey, yeah, hey, hey, yeah, hey, I don't want my thoughts to lead me to some purple leaves. I need perfume, won't deceive me, so feel.
This is actually quite an old song to be fair, so hopefully I remember all the lyrics to it. But yeah, pretty much all of my music is sample based.
This one is a particularly weird one. It's actually like
a French choir of monks, and it's not even like a sample of an actual song. It's a sample of like from vinyl. They used to do this thing where they like pitch up before they start the song, and I basically just took a sample from that, so it sounds quite weird and ethereal. And I pray that I remember the words. Walked at a seat, walked in a boat, we propelling air quotes, took a push at every joke, no notes, lined up to the door, signed up, get some smoke, tight rough, I was spitting rhymes, but chord-tied syllables, stolen, crushed beats, amplitude, rumbles, cartridge head, bucket seat, something hold the bluff, and I'm blushing in this discussion, cause I'm just a hopeless curmudgeon with nothing but love for the culture, stay relevant and humble, I know I'd be pretty lucky to break out of this bubble, so I've all been shuffled, pen in my one, for the competition, find a way to free my composition and make understand my mission, get these qualifications with patience and raise a nation better than any previous era, ancient or presence. When I'm microphone, I fight below when the moment was past my lips, I'm distinct, and I'm proud of that. Regardless of whether I get me claim or back, right up. Part-time, the moonshine, or one of a kind, many a mind with little time. Could be sitting on a gold night, but I just bark, no bite. Stutter and stammer this right, doors hammer, can you damn the attack on this grammar? Damn when you bang it, I go back so fast in a matter of fact. Lungs collapse, overdraft, aching back of my neighbours, mad, my hours 40 a week when I finally breathe deep. I'm afraid of my dreams and I'm heavy to sleep. By the way, critical thinking on the blind slide back to the neon back and never attempt to break from your circumstances. So there I'm sat, with a turntable bag of green tapes on my lap, reading for beats and a pad and a break for demands. I'm a spirit of man, I can't live in this drama. Every soul, every soul of life so far has been damaged. We habit in the middle of the rubble. I'm forced with destruction to the literal destruction. It's getting pretty hard to function, but fuck it.
Everything in its right place, the right time, 2020 hindsight, everything in its right place, the right time, 2020 hindsight,
I think of every woman, rocky beaches and fire pits, Ruth, you're mild in my head. So for one last draw, I just swinging jaw. Sex so loud we bring the sunshine through the clouds.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much. And I'm just going to give all the thanks at once, and we'll do one round of applause, and that's it for tonight. So thanks to everyone who helped today, including DataFest, especially to Gordon, Shoreline Infinity, Noel, Yasmin, James and Anne, Sandy from Channel 7A, to all our performers who were Eva Dundas, Miles Bedder, Jeda Pearl, Angela Milton, Danielle Farrow and Ruth Aylett, and to all of you for coming out tonight. Without you, we'd all be droning on about robots. And please keep your eye on our website, www.shorelineofinfinity.com, or on Twitter at ShoreInf for our next events, which the next one's coming up on the 7th of December, so keep an eye on those. So, to all of those people, thank you very much and good night.